All right, 11 a.m. We doing all right today? Okay, you guys are excited. I like it. To follow up with Chris when he's talking about the partnering with Aid Now and our student ministry that's going to be doing that. They're going to be collecting the skinny jeans and all that jazz, but they've been given like a goal that if they can get close to 100, then we just kind of sacrificed up Dominic, the intern, and said that he's going to have to shave his head. And then the goal was like, well, what can we do if we get over 100? And apparently, if they collect over 100 pairs of jeans, then I have to shave my beard. But don't worry, you'll see me the next Sunday, and it'll be right back. Because it grows like gangbusters. It's out of control. I love this series, and I'm really bummed that we're going to be wrapping it up today. I'm excited for the next series that we're going to be in. It's going to be a 5-week series. We're going to be dealing with everything. If you're single, this is a series for you. If you're dating, this is a series for you. If you're married and everything's awesome, it's a series for you. If you're married and everything's not awesome, do not nudge them right now. This is because you've already been sleeping on the couch. Why not? You don't want to make it another night. This next series is for you. And so, and especially for you guys that are in middle school and high school, as we jump into over the next 5 weeks, starting next Sunday, I'm telling you, this is nuggets of gold for you so you don't make a mistake. The divorce rate in the United States continues to go through the roof, and the way relationships buckle. And we just want to look at how do we deal with friendships and relationships in God's way. And so it's going to be a really fun time with that. And today, as we wrap up, I want to ask you guys a question. Maybe over this last week or last couple of weeks, by show of hands, has there been a time where you've either said, like, man, I'm really struggling right now, or things are difficult, or man, I just don't know how I'm going to make it through the day? Show of hands here. How many of you have felt that one way or another? Yeah. And maybe for you, you would frame it, especially if you're a little younger. I need to tread lightly here for our older demographic. If you're a little bit younger, you may have used, I know it as the pound sign, but you know it as a hashtag, and you've probably hashtagged at some point, the struggle is real. Yeah. And when I talk about this, when we're struggling, there are things that happen. Like right now, for some of you, tomorrow morning, when that alarm goes off, and it's Monday, and you got to go back to work, the struggle is real. Like you're just like, man, I don't want to go, and you have a case of the Mondays, and you don't want to go to work. And if you're single, there's a whole other layer of that where you're just like, I don't have to answer to anybody. Like, I don't have to do anything or get, like, I could just call in sick and no one would care. And you just like, and so there's all of those temptations that go on with that when it comes to getting up in the morning. There are struggles that we talk about when it comes to, and now everybody has a new, like, wait, we're going to get fit and we're going to do whatever. And when it comes to eating, and you just walk in, like say for instance, you walk in one of my favorite restaurants is Red Robin, yum. And you walk in there and you're like, nope, I'm going to eat grilled chicken. I'm going to eat some kind of wrap, salad, something. And all of a sudden they walk by with that chili cheeseburger. And you're like, dang man, struggle's real. And the waitress like, what would you like? I was going to get chicken, but now I want that. All of it. Do you want multiple fries? Yeah, all the fries. Just keep them coming. You do it, and it's so difficult. I was writing down some of these other things. Some of you guys who are younger and you stay up when it's real late, and you're just like, it's 2 a.m. You're like, woo, what are we doing now? Wait, just wait. You're going to hit the big 3-0, and all of a sudden, your body just shuts down. And it hits 8 o'clock, and you're like, it's 8 o'clock. I'm so tired. Somebody just texted me to go out. Don't they know it's 8 o'clock? I'm already in my sweats. Been in them since 5. Struggle is real. And then it comes to when we talk about struggles, especially the workout struggle. Because you're trying to get fit. You're trying to lose weight or be toned or whatever. And you got all the stuff. You go to the gym. You got a membership. You got your Fitbit or whatever, as my middle daughter calls it, a fat bit, which is a little more accurate. She said, got that fat bit? I was like, thanks. Trip you walking down the hall. I don't know what happened. And you do, and you go walk around, you're like in fireworks, and I know my wife has a Fitbit, and all of a sudden you get 10,000 steps and your wrist like explodes. There's fireworks, and there's noises, and everything else, and then you look at how many calories you burn, and then you go and you look at the menu, and you're like, that was only a small fry. I got to do 1,000,000 steps to eat a meal. What's going on? The struggle is real. And those are very superficial things in general, but there are things in life that we struggle with. That when we want to, we've been in this series, Here Am I, Send Me, where we want to follow God. And there are things where we wrestle with and we struggle with in faith, in walking this journey out. Maybe you're close to God. Maybe you're still searching after all of this. Where God calls us to a heart that begins to be transformed. And then we fall or we mess up, or there's a standard that God calls us to and we don't hit that and we just feel like, I cannot live up to this. I don't feel like, and I'm struggling, I don't feel like I can ever hit the bar that God's calling me to. And maybe for you it's anxiety, or maybe for you it's anger, frustration, pride. And we begin to start rating these things and what I call community holiness. And it's like we kind of look around and we go, man, well, I'm struggling, but I look over there, man, they are really struggling. And so I'm trying to claim victory over these things, and I'm trying my best. But God, you understand, because look at them. And we start to rate some of these things, and we get overwhelmed. Either we feel like we just can never measure up, or there's moments where we want victory over a struggle, and we just kind of go, God, well, at least I'm doing better than so-and-so. And there's all of these measurements. And the thing is God doesn't view it that way. You struggle, I struggle, whether it's with some type of addiction, whether it's just you struggle with honesty and lies. Maybe for you it's in a relationship of being faithful, or maybe it's just being honorable in your dealings with people and circumstances. Wherever you find yourself, you go, man, I'm struggling in that, and we may want to measure where we struggle in light of other people's struggles to be able to make ourselves feel better, but that's not the way that God views it. And I love what Robert Madu shares in this, and he put it this way. So nowhere in the Bible, however, do we find God distinguishing between levels of sin. In sin, if you're new to faith or still, God has a mark for us. And if you think of it like archery, that we in life want to hit the mark that God has for us, and we keep pulling that back. And when we sin, that arrow's going off. Or if you're a golfer, it's just like you have the slice from you know where. It just goes off, and you're like, well, that's never going to go. It's that this is missing the mark that God has for us. God doesn't share our rating system. To him, all sin is equally evil, and all sinners, and in case you're wondering, that's all of us, are equally lovable because we all fall short and he still loves us all the same. Victory, and I love this, is available to just those people that come to church on Sunday morning. Oh, wait, we're going to get this right at some point. Victory is available for those people that serve every single day. Victory is available for those who judge other people but think that their stuff doesn't stink. No, wait. Victory is available for everyone. And so as we walk this out, as we look at this, then where do we go with this? If we have struggles, and we all do, then how do we walk through honoring God with our lives in the middle of sometimes feeling like we can never measure up, or sometimes rating ourselves better than other people? And I love the story of this guy named Gideon that we're going to look at today. Because Gideon was just a guy trying to honor God. He was trying to follow him, and God had a mission for Gideon. He said, listen, these people have been, they have gone on a tirade, they have been awful. There's this group called the Midianites. He said, Gideon, I want to use you and your army to overcome what's going on there. Because what's happening is not right, what's happening is not honorable, and we are going, and God's like, I'm going to use you to overcome that. And Gideon walks into it, and I love this, because I think this is how you and I want to approach struggles. We want the deck stacked in our favor. We'd be like, man, I'm totally going to win because I got everything on my side. But what happens with Gideon as we get into this is Gideon was going to make the victory in the battle all about him and not about God. And if you have a Bible, you can turn over to Judges chapter 7. It's Judges chapter 7. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible. If you don't have a Bible, we give them away for free at the Get Connected table in the lobby. You can grab one of those. You can also download a Bible app as well as download the Forefront Church app. And the reason that we talk about that one is it has all of the notes already in it. If you just search for Forefront Church, you'll see the little green globe. And it has all the notes, it has the quotes, and then you can fill out everything and then email it back to yourself. And that would be awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and note the elephant in the room that our computer has been buck wild today. Like buck wild. And so I just want to say, give it up for Murray, who's in the back. That because when things go well, it happens on occasion. We actually have a new computer coming because we were like, no, and then we knew this Sunday it was going to go crazy. And when things go well, nobody notices it. But then when things go bad, everybody looks in the back like, who's that guy messing up the computer? Murray's not back there purposely doing this. And so I'm thankful for him. And so if you see the screens go away, that'll be all right. And over in Judges chapter 7, we're going to jump in starting in verse 2 and look at this story of Gideon. And it's going to not be on the screens because technology sometimes stinks, or it will be. Who knows? Starting, I never know. It's always, we're okay. We run with things here. And so we're not perfect, and neither are our computers. And so verse 2 in Judges chapter 7 in the Old Testament shares this. The Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men. He had 3,000 soldiers in his army. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel will boast against me. My own strength has saved us. Basically, he's like, you're going to think it's all about you. And it's about what I do through you. And I don't want you to have a big head where you can't fit through the doorway because you're going to have an ego and pride. I know none of you guys struggle with that. But he's like, I need to make sure that you understand it's about me. And so we're going to handle this. And so God starts handling business. And so verse 3 says, now announce to the army, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. And so when he said, all right, if you guys are afraid, whatever, so 20,000 men left. I'd be like, God, you know what you're doing? Because I thought you were going to send us into battle to win this. Turned back and left while 10,000 remained. Verse 4, but the Lord said to Gideon, you know what? The more I think about it, there's still too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will thin them out for you there. I mean, I don't want to take them down to the water. We had 30,000 men. Now we only got 10,000. I don't know what you're going to do. It says, if I say, this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say, this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon listened. So Gideon took the men down to the water. Then the Lord told him, separate those who lap the water with their tongues as a dog laps from those who kneel down to drink. And so basically what he's saying is there's going to be guys that act like animals and go down, or there's going to be guys who are a little bit more, together, and they're going to pull that water up and cup it with their hands. He says 300 of them drank from cupped hands, and 300 of them lapping like dogs. And then so all the rest got down on their knees to drink. The Lord said to Gideon, with these 300 men that lapped, I will save you. And I love this, and give the Midianites into your hands. As I was doing this, I'm like, hashtag the struggle is not real anymore. Like God's like, I've got this. Let all the others go home. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites home, but kept 300. So from 30,000 to 300. And then he gave them over to the provisions and everything else to the 300 and the others. I think it's fascinating that Gideon is going into this, and he's like, we've got this. Like, the deck is stacked in my favor. All right, God, here I am, send me. Like, I'm going to go. Like, I'm going to follow you. I'm going to do this. And then he's like, you just whittled down this huge army. I thought that we were on the same team. Like if everybody's like, hey, we're going to get a team together and we're going to go out and play volleyball, whatever it is. And we're going to go against these other people. And I don't even know how many people are normally on a volleyball court because I like the sand for like 2 seconds and get in the ocean. And so like, we're going to go play volleyball. We're going to do our thing. And then you show up and they're like, yeah, there were a bunch of people that signed up, but I think it's just going to be me and you against this whole other team. There's like, 6, 8 people over there. They'd be like, are you out of your mind? Be like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll be all right. You would be flipping out all of a sudden. It wouldn't be like the normal like 2-on-2 that you see sometimes. Like you got a whole team of qualified people and you just got just you and another person. You would be flipping out. And when God is in the middle of this with Gideon, Gideon's like, I just don't know what to do. I have no clue what's going to happen next. But God, I'm going to trust you in this because I know that you are the one in charge of this battle. I know that I feel like this is a struggle, but I know that you can overcome it. See, there was a time for me that I had a struggle going on. I've talked about this before at different moments and messages. I wrestle with anxiety, like to a high degree. And one of the times when I talked about it in the message, which I'm not going to describe today, because I had 8 other people come up to me. They're like, while you were talking about how you deal with panic attacks, I was almost having a panic attack. Like, it's trying to describe it for other people. But I wrestle with anxiety to the point of like, at moments in my life I've taken medication, gone to counseling for it. Like, it's just high up on my radar. But I didn't believe that I had a struggle with it. I would be in the middle of crowds at like weddings and funerals and other like theme parks and things like that and just shut down. I was like, I don't really have a problem with it. And I remember there were a time vividly that I began to like take it seriously, where I was at college, and I shared this a year or so ago. I woke up, and all of a sudden it hit me while I went in the dorms to go take a shower in like they have the little stalls there, and like I shut down. I didn't know what happened. I could barely breathe, and I just kind of sat down, and I like missed all my morning classes. Like nobody came looking for me. I just remember like being real quiet and like praying. I was like, God, what's wrong with me? I felt ashamed. And it was the first moment that I realized that I was wrestling and going through something that was super difficult, but I didn't think that I had a problem up until the point that it got out of control, that I couldn't bear the weight of it anymore. And I know for many of us, we have things that go on in our lives that we don't think it's that big of a deal until it begins to spiral and stair-step like a snowball, and then all of a sudden it just gets bigger and picks up more, and then before too long it's coming at us and there is nothing. It's like Indiana Jones when that big boulder's flying at us and we're like, I'm going to die. Like I have nothing. Like it gets so overwhelming. And for me, I had to come to a place, and I wrote this down in my Bible when all this was happening with me. It shares it this way, that you cannot venture into victory, that God, through any type of struggle, until you acknowledge you're in a battle. For you and I, there's no victory over what we're struggling with until we can understand that we are actually in the midst of a battle with the thing that we're dealing with. Maybe it's being able to hold strong to what you believe and your values. Maybe for you, it's just the in and out of all the struggles that keep happening with addiction and pain and hurt. Maybe, and I see this so often, it's a battle with shame and hurt that you keep telling yourself lies. And you struggle so deeply with self-worth and value. And you go, I'm never going to be able to overcome this. And until we're able to understand and view it and see that this is a true battle, there will never be victory in any of those things. See, because God begins to swoop in and move in ways that, we sometimes don't understand. And he gives us opportunities to claim victory. And I love the takeaway for this week. And so if you're taking notes, you can write this down. Is that you and I need to seize every victorious opportunity God hands you, even the ones disguised as pain. Now, that doesn't sound very PC. You're like, no, Jason, I just need to accept things that make me feel good. I need to accept things that fit into my stereotypical worldview. And if it causes me pain, then I obviously don't need it. If it causes me grief or it causes me hurt, then obviously that God isn't using that. That's something entirely different. And I would actually speak to the contrary, that as God is working through your struggle and my struggle, as he's working through the things that we battle, that God actually uses some of the most painful moments to teach us the most amazing lessons about who we are and who he is and how he's the one who sets up the victory. It's much like, and it's interesting that we sometimes would say that, well, no, I don't need to struggle to understand God. And I'm not going to grow in the midst of a struggle. And yet it's funny because there's not a single person that would say that your muscles don't have to hurt before you can build more muscle. That you don't have to work them out, because they actually end up, if you don't know anything about working out, and I don't know a lot, as you can tell, but I'm trying, all right? I'm with you. The struggle is real here. And so but when you work out and you push the muscle to its capacity and then some, it begins to tear and bleed. There is physical pain going on inside, and then as it begins to heal, your muscle then begins to grow and move, and so you keep pushing yourself further and pushing yourself further as you do that. And it's interesting that we get this premise when we talk about working hard to get results in our job, working hard to get results, and sometimes experiencing pain or wrestling with that to get to an ultimate goal. And then we get to God and we go, I don't need to experience struggle or pain to grow in my faith. And yet those are the very things that work in every other instance, but then we deny God could ever work in those things. And I would say that even based on Scripture, based on the Bible, is that those are the moments where we grow the most. When everything's happy-go-lucky, and whether it's, you're in a relationship or you're single, and everything's going fine, the job's going fine, maybe you have kids are doing great, they come home, yes ma'am, yes sir, we'll do our homework, and then we'll wash the car and feed the dog, and everything, which I know doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in our house. And all these things, and everything's fine. There's not a ton of growth that happens there. You're thankful. But growth, more often than not, and you speak to people, that's why we love these stories when people talk about hardships and as they overcome them. Why? Because we watch the change in a person's heart, in character, in mind, and body. And so God uses some of the most difficult circumstances in the struggle to show who He is in victory. And there's a couple ways that He does that. One is He reveals His power. I wrote down this passage. It's in the New Testament of the Bible, over in the book of John. He says, you know what? You're going to encounter trouble. And so if you're new to faith or new to church or whatever, and you're like, no, somebody told me if I follow God, everything is rainbows and butterflies and all this stuff. We talk about it a lot here. You will. God promises you are going to experience trouble. We live in a broken world with broken people, and somehow we expect that broken people won't do broken things. Like, I can't believe they did that. I can. They're broken. We're all messed up. And so as we encounter this, God's listen, you're going to have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. God says, listen, I'm going to take the moments that you struggle, and I'm going to reveal my power about who I am and what I can do and how I can move in your life. Another piece of that I think is so true, and we need to hear it, and Gideon needed this, is misplaced acknowledgement. That God needed to take Gideon from 30,000 men, where he was like, we totally got this, to 300 men. He's like, God, you know what you're doing? Did you fall and bump your head up there? Like, what's going on here? And God's like, you need to trust me. Because if Gideon had gone in to the moment of that battle with 30,000 men and done it, everybody would have been lifting him up. Gideon, you're the best. He's like, yes, I am. All right, I'm good. Yeah, hashtag I did it. Like, everything would be fine, and it would be all about Gideon in the middle of a struggle. And what God did is He began to form a plan that pushed Gideon to see that if it was going to work, it was going to be because of God's power and God's strength. And he didn't want to get to a place where there would be misplaced acknowledgement, that people would see the battle, that people would see the victory, and they'd go, Gideon is awesome. They go, listen, we see the battle and we see the victory. Man, God is so amazing. I watched this play out with my daughter the other day. I know y'all, if you have kids, or if you had siblings growing up and you don't have kids yet, good for you, right? And so if you've chosen, those of you guys who chose, you're like, we're never having kids, awesome, way to go. You just decide that because it's tough. That struggle is super real. And it's real forever, until you are worm food, it's real. And I know watching my daughters, they're not perfect, especially our oldest two. The baby can do no wrong, even though sometimes she's crazy. But I watch them, and they were fighting. And as they get older, it goes from bickering to flexing up on each other to fashioning prison shivs. They don't play. And they started now getting into more of this fist fight nature, 7 and 5. And And I don't know where they learn this. Like when they get angry and then they swing. And I know it's probably more of a natural reaction because they don't see their dad like flipping up being like, I'm just mad, like whatever. Like I just don't do that. Like I'm not that kind of guy at all. But they've learned it somewhere, and we don't watch WWF or anything. And so I watch this, I'm like, man, and so we stop it. Like we shut things down at our house, and I don't know what you do as a parent. If you put them in timeout 45 times, like that don't play at our house. It's like you get like something one time, and then we just take away everything. Like my wife the other night, and I had posted this on social networking, they were acting a fool, and she's like, y'all are done, go to bed. They're like, whatever, and we're like, tell Jesus on your pillow, like go to bed, cry it out. You'll love me. Oh, you're a worst parent. You know, all the things that they'll say. You're the worst parent ever. All right, you'll love me tomorrow. And like when we don't care, sometimes they just need to be mad. Like, and it's fine because they're the kids, and we're not going to let the inmates run the asylum, right? It's just, yeah, exactly. And if you're that parent, like I don't know what to do, go to bed. Like just send them, and they're hungry, whatever. They're not going to die. They'll be fine. And so she sends them to bed, and so. And this happens from time to time. And there was a while back, they were fighting and doing this stuff. And then Chloe, our oldest, 7 years old, is like, Daddy, we didn't fight today. I'm like, awesome. Like, what do you want, a cookie? Like, you're not supposed to fight. I'm not going to be like, you didn't fight today? Let's go to Toys R Us. You get a bike. Like, you get a pony. No, that's what you're supposed to do. And then the next day, she's like, Daddy, we didn't fight today. That's awesome. I'm like, cool, like high five, but like that's all you get, like is a high five. Like that's your role. Don't die, don't fight. Like, and just be a good girl, all right? Like if that happens, we're winning. And this happened over a few days, and I realized she was celebrating just simply the fact that she was having victory over it and didn't get the bigger picture about the ramifications of what happened. And so I sat her down as best I could with a 7-year-old, and we're talking. I said, baby, you've done this. She's like, yeah, isn't it awesome? High five. And I do the reluctant high five again. I'm like, but do you know why it means what it means when you don't fight? She's like, do you know the impact like that it has? And I can tell the hamster has fallen asleep. She's looking at me like, and so I've asked, like, do you think about how how mommy and daddy feel when you guys fight? And she was straight up looking at me. She's like, no. And so I started unpacking this with her. I said, baby, when you guys get into this and when you guys are fighting, I need you to understand the weight that it has on your mother and I, because it burdens us and breaks our hearts that you're not honoring the way that you should be. In the struggle that you have, I want you to understand it's not just about claiming victory over it. It's about being able to be victorious over it and knowing all the ripple effect of all that happens when we fall short. And there's this book that I absolutely love. It's by a guy named Jerry Bridges. It's called The Pursuit of Holiness. The book, if you pick it up, it's the greatest book, but every chapter, it's redundant. It's like 10 chapters that could have been one chapter. And I read it every year. It's a short book, cover to cover, but it talks about how we honor God with our lives. And he put it this way when it comes to this premise that my daughter acted out. We're more concerned sometimes about our own victory over sin than we are about the fact that our sin grieves the heart of God. That there are times, and I love it, and I have to wrap my head around this as I talk to my daughter about this. There are times where the weight of it, that we need to understand the weight and heaviness of how we fail. But the beauty is in this is that God sent his son Jesus to pay that price even when we were failing, even when we were messing up, even when we were falling short. And so God looks at this and all this. He says, even if you're not understanding it, I still sent my son for you, even though it breaks my heart. But I love you so much that I sent Jesus so that you could be free. And what I'm trying to lead my daughter in, what I hope that we can grasp, is that even in the struggle being so real in our lives, in the things that weigh us down, that God wants to set us up for victory, but sometimes that we have to walk through the pain to deal with that. And that's not always easy, and that's not always, beautiful and lovely and wrap it up in a bow. And that's, if you've ever been around church culture or anything, the testimonies, it's very rare that they play a testimony of, hey, this guy's struggling with so-and-so and it's really hard, and then like ... It's usually like, this is really hard and this struggle happens, but look at what happened and what God did. And I think sometimes we think that there has to be victory or God's not working. In the middle of all of that pain, God is very much working in you and I. And sometimes that victory comes quick, but more often than not, that is a process. Or what we'd say it here is that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And so as God is working that out for you and I want you to know above all else is that you are loved by an amazing God. And you may be sitting in the middle of a struggle that you have no idea how you're going to be able to overcome it. And you just go, I wish that I could just be set free of this. And God's going, I'm working in it. Trust me. But God, I can't measure up and I don't have enough resources and whatever. Trust me. God, there is no way because that person is in my life and they're at my job or they're in my home and I can't deal with it. Trust me. God, there is no way, like my struggle is with my kids and they are here and they are 5 and they're not going to leave until they're 18 and then they still might stay forever and I don't know what to do. And God's going, trust me. God, I just have all this shame and I don't know how to, and I've been carrying it for so long, it's like it started to grow roots. And blood feels like it flows through the shame like it's connected to me. And God's going, trust me. You see, when we want to whittle all this down, when we answer this call of, all right, God, here am I, send me. God wants to point us back to the very real promise that you and I need to seize every victory and all of those amazing opportunities and even the ones disguised as pain. Because he's working out a situation that is best for you. And I can tell you from experience, even in the middle of those times where I'm like, God, this does not feel good. I don't like this. I don't know if I like you a whole lot right now. And God's going like, I'm big enough to take it. I created the world and I made you and I know how many hairs are on your head and I know your exact fingerprints. I got you. And I'm like, I don't know if you got me. He's like, that's fine. I love you even in your doubt and you're being dumb. And I'm like, I know I'm dumb. He's like, I know. And you maybe feel that, and you have that dialogue. Maybe you think you're super smart, and you think God's dumb, and you're smart, and then that's just ego and pride. That you be able to get into this and go, all right, God, in the middle of this pain, help lead me to a place where I understand you more. And let me understand that this pain is only temporary, and that your victory is eternal. Why don't you pray with me?